evaporating. But then, of course, we have Plaid. Now, Plaid have got away for a long time with being seen as sort of quite soft, quite cuddly, quite nice. Well, you can vote Plaid if you like, but recognise who they are. They are a hard left, genuinely hard left political party. They are full of people who seem to care more about Gaza and supporting Palestine action than we do for Welsh interests. They believe that Wales should be a country of sanctuary. Refugees welcome here, say Plaid, unless, of course, you come from Israel, and then they are firmly against you. They're the kind of people that we're dealing with Plaid. And there is also a very nasty anti-English streak amongst many of their activists, which frankly is not only unpleasant, but it's self-defeating for Wales. And if they try and pretend next year that they are the party of change, no, they're the party many times over these last few years that has kept Labour propped up in power in Wales. They are the status quo. They represent failure. We are the party of change, and these elections next May will be a two-horse race between us and Plaid. You can either stick with what has done so badly and gone so wrong and move Wales way, way, way to the hard left, or you can vote for us, and we will end the ludicrous 20-mile-per-hour speed limit that is there all over the country. We will end City of Sanctuary and say it's time to put Welsh people first. And we will face a whole mass of problems, and it won't be easy, and we won't be able to do it overnight, but we will be the party of change. And I have every reason to believe we can do phenomenally well next May here in Wales. I'm going to be here one hell of a lot, campaigning with you. It's great to see you here tonight in such numbers. But I need to ask you what you yourselves are prepared to do. Answering a mobile phone might be quite a good thing. I heard one ringing a moment ago. It's last orders down the local. You better get your... We've had a lot of very good people. A lot of very good people have already put their names forward to stand in those Senate elections. But it may well be people here in this room of talent, of experience, who haven't yet decided to put their names forward. We are looking for men and women that are determined to be part of the change that Wales needs. We're looking for men and women with experience of life, in whatever it may be, but real people who've had real jobs and got real experience. So I would ask you, all of you, sitting here in this packed hall this evening, please consider whether you want to put yourself forward to stand for those elections. And there'll be, over the course of the next few years, council elections. And you've already seen tonight some of the excellent members of the Senedd and local councillors that we've got here in Wales. The only person I can't convince to stand is David Jones. I can't convince him to stand, but aren't we lucky to have a man of that political experience, that local knowledge here in North Wales, and that integrity. David is our elder statesman, and we're very grateful to have him with us. So please, when local council elections come up over the next few years, consider putting yourselves up, putting yourselves forward. Yes, you'll have to go through vetting processes and all the rest of it, because we've got to be sensible about what we do. But I'd ask all of you, can you each, in your own way, do your bit to help us succeed next May? Can all of you Help us deliver leaflets. Help us put up posters. Yes? Yes? I'll also put the hat round at some point to help towards campaign. No? We've got a great opportunity here to get behind this campaign. Every single one of you, whatever your age, whatever your level of fitness, every single one of you can make a big contribution towards this campaign next May. So that is my plea to you this evening. Leave here after this event determined to play your part. Get involved with your local branch. Get involved with the local members. Talk to your family and friends. Put leaflets through the door in your streets. Ring people you know who perhaps in many cases don't normally vote but can see the trouble not just the country's in as a whole, but Wales in particular is in. That is my plea to you. I promise I'll do my bit. I promise I'll lead from the front in every way that I can. I want you tonight to promise me that you too will do your bit. Can I hear you loud and clear? Can I hear you again loud and clear? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Helo, noswaitha Cymru! Mae mo chwich ima ac am droif chwich. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I tried my Welsh. I think it was a good effort. Well, a very good evening, Wales. It is so fantastic to be here, and what a fabulous crowd you are. Thank you very much indeed for coming out on a very cold, blustery evening. Now, I am Dr. David Bullen, and as you know, I am the chairman of this great party, and as you also know, we are the fastest growing political party in this country and the fastest growing political party ever seen in British history. I think you will agree that is quite some accolade. Well, I am so delighted to be back here in Wales, a country known for its dramatic landscapes, its mountains, its long coastlines, green valleys, national parks like Snowdonia, the Brecon Beacons, and of course, its very beautiful, picturesque towns. Wales oozes history. It has 4 UNESCO World Heritage castles at Carnarvon, in Conway, in Harlech and Beaumaris. It actually has more castles per square mile than any other country in Europe. And Wales is also a country of great inspiration. And where we are now, Llandudno, is said to have inspired Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. But what I particularly love every time I come here is the warmth and the friendship I am always given when I come to Wales. And that is underpinned by the tight-knit communities that have been forged here. And I have to say, it is almost impossible to ignore the enormous national pride on display wherever you go in this great country. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to tell you this, Wales is a strong, independent country. But it is also a key constituent part of the great United Kingdom. Now, Wales should be an economic powerhouse. Its economy is worth £16.8 billion, and yet GDP per capita is £10,000 below the UK average. Wales has some of the UK's poorest post-industrial and rural regions. Wages here are lower than the UK average. There is a poverty of high-paying jobs, and unemployment stands highest of any UK nation. Public transport here is unreliable and infrequent, with slow trains and very limited bus services. There is a desperate shortage of affordable homes. And the Welsh NHS, which, by the way, is entirely devolved to the Welsh Senedd, is on its knees. The shocking fact is the health outcomes in this country are the worst in Britain. It is a shameful record. Let me tell you, life expectancy here has stalled and even decreased in recent years. In the most deprived areas here in Wales, women die around 6.5 years earlier, and men around 7.5 years earlier than their counterparts in the wealthiest areas. Leading causes of death in Wales include ischemic heart disease, dementia, and Alzheimer's. And cancer remains the leading cause of avoidable mortality for females, whilst heart disease is the most common for men. Mortality from alcohol and drug-related causes has risen significantly over the last decade. As a doctor, I think this is a shocking indictment of the governance of the health service in Wales. And here are some really staggering facts. 1 in 5 people in Wales are on an NHS waiting list. That is shameful. Ambulances are waiting 2 hours on average outside A&E units. And latest figures show that 22.7% of deaths in Wales are preventable or they are treatable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unacceptable in a developed Western nation. Wales and the Welsh people have been ignored for far too long, and we will put that right. Now, when you ask the Welsh public which three issues most affect them and what they will actually vote on in the elections next year, the number one issue is health and the collapse of the Welsh NHS. Now, second amongst people's concern is unfettered immigration, both legal and illegal. And the third most pressing concern, and I don't need to tell you this, is the cost of living and the collapse of the economy. Now, on that note, Welsh people are holding their collective breath for the car crash of a budget that Rachel Reeves is about to unleash on us. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a government of vandals, and Rachel Reeves is its wrecker-in-chief. The budget on Wednesday will be an utter abomination, another step in the ruination of Britain. It will be, quite frankly, a naked attack on the strivers, the doers, and the risk-takers. And actually, Reeves is about to clobber the hardest working in our society. Everyone knows this. We are seeing our take-home pay go down, and yet the spiralling cost of living continues. And at the very same time, Rachel Reeves, who is in hock with her union paymasters, will shower the public sector with cash that we simply cannot afford. Those that can have already left the country. Let me tell you some figures. Since Labour came to power, over 250,000 people have actually upped sticks and left the United Kingdom. And who can blame them? And worst of all are the public finances, for which she is directly responsible. The public sector borrowed a staggering £116.8 billion in the year to October. That is £9.9 billion more than the OBR's March forecast, and shockingly, it is 8.4% more than during the same period last year. The UK deficit is still rising under her watch, and yet she remains in post. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you will agree she is a calamitous failure. It's really simple. She is spending too much money. Her tax receipts aren't coming in as strongly as expected, and she clearly doesn't understand how capitalist economies actually work. Reeves's budget will further undermine growth and weaken our society. She is unfit to be Chancellor, and this Labour government is out of time, it's out of excuses, and quite frankly, it is out of its depth. So now let's turn our attention to immigration. You know these figures, but under this failing Labour government, 38,000 migrants, illegal migrants, have arrived in Britain this year. Since Labour came to power, that number actually rockets to 50,000 illegal migrants coming over to this country. Its smash the gangs policy is in utter tatters. Its one in, one out policy is a global laughingstock, and this has actually turned into what I'm calling the hokey cokey. One in, one out, one back in, and so on. And then let's look at legal immigration, shall we? Under the Tories, the so-called Boris wave allowed 3.8 million low-skilled migrants into the United Kingdom on long-term visas. And here is the real problem with this. Nearly 1 million of them are about to get indefinite leave to remain. Half of those migrants will never work. Half will never work, and you will pay for them. 60% are low-skilled, and a high percentage do not speak English. The Welsh public are rightly apoplectic, and they demand change. And yet, under the failing Welsh government, Wales aims to be, and you've heard this before, a nation of sanctuary. a nation of sanctuary for refugees and asylum seekers. Wales and the government of Wales sees a country without borders where anyone from any part of the world can come here unfettered. The Welsh Government is throwing money into health and education for refugees and for asylum seekers, whilst indigenous Welsh people are at the bottom of the pile. Under a Reform UK-led Senedd, this, ladies and gentlemen, will be history. We will put the Welsh people first. Now, here in Wales, thanks to the quite extraordinary work, actually, of our regional director, David Thomas, and, of course, all of our members and supporters, let me tell you the latest polling. We are now polling in first place in Wales at 29%. I think you'll agree that is pretty unbelievable. Plaid Cymru, second at 23%. Labour trailing at 18%. The Tories barely register at 11%. And quite frankly, the Green Party should pick up their ball and go home. The choice, ladies and gentlemen, is clear, and we've seen this in the by-election. It really is a two-horse race between us and Plaid. Just remember, this is a party epitomised by their leader saying there is no such thing as illegal immigration. Now, Reform UK's results are utterly remarkable. I was here in Wales a few weeks ago, and we were polling at 28%. So what does this show us? It means we are continuing to make incredible progress. And if we continue on this trajectory, we are on course to win a majority of seats, and we will take control of the Senedd. Let me just tell you this, all of us are determined to topple the smug, incompetent Welsh government. And I promise you this, we are determined to turn around the failing fortunes of this proud nation. Now, the Senedd elections are going to be held on the 7th of May next year, where all 96 members will be elected. It will actually be the 7th devolved general election since the Senedd was formed in 1999. It's slightly different because it's also going to be the first election following the reforms to the voting system. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is apparent. We cannot afford to be complacent. We can win, and we have to win. The consequences for the Welsh people are profound. But we will only win if we come together, if we work together, if we campaign together, and we together will fight for a new Welsh dawn. Well, our first speaker tonight has enjoyed a successful career in the aerospace and defence sector, as well as being a prominent borough councillor in Torfaen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Councillor Jason O'Connell.
Wow, what a fantastic welcome. Thank you very much indeed. It's great to be here tonight. I want to introduce myself, first of all. I'm Jason O'Connell, a borough councillor from deep down south in Torfaen. But my route into politics, a lot, I'm sure, like similar to yourselves, started by debating strangers on the internet, and I thought I'd better do something about it, put my money where my mouth is. I put myself up for council election. Now, fast forward nearly 10 years of serving my community, and I find myself on a stage speaking at this fantastic event, alongside what I believe is going to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. Nigel Farage. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I think the Welsh media would have you believe we're all hiding in a bunker somewhere, licking our wounds after what I think was a fantastic campaign in Caerphilly. A campaign that I was proud to play a part in. superbly led by David Thomas and with an absolutely fantastic candidate in Thea Powell. It was a campaign that showed the very best of Reform Wales, our reach, our positivity, and much importantly, our potential. So I'm sorry to disappoint our Welsh media friends, but we in Reform Wales are very much in fantastic spirits. We're buoyant, we're motivated, and we are completely up for the political fight ahead. Now, as we all know, we in Wales, of course, face our own specific challenges. It's been 26 years, 26 years, can you believe it, of hard labour propped up by their lapdogs, Plaid Cymru, who have plunged this proud country into perennial decay. There isn't an aspect of life here in Wales that this government touches that isn't in absolute distress. Can any of you think of anything? Because I certainly can't. Shame on them. Now, they've taken this country and its people for granted for far too long. And I can tell you all with a degree of certainty that if elected, a Reform Wales-led Welsh government will begin the process of national renewal the very day we enter office. But I do have a warning to us all, ladies and gentlemen, a warning to heed. They are coming. The same MPs, MSs and councillors that wanted you to put the likes of Jeremy Corbyn in as Prime Minister only a few short years ago. Those same people, they're all on their way. And when they knock on your door in April, in May, be it Labour or Plaid, and I think we can forget the Tories at this point, can't we? Let's ask them straight. What is it in their 26 years of government in Wales that they're most proud of? What's their greatest achievement? Do you think it's NHS record waiting lists? Is it the worst educational system standards in the UK? Is it squandering hundreds of millions of pounds of taxpayer money on vanity projects, consultants, reports that go nowhere but cost tens of millions of pounds to produce? And of course, these people, they won't be able to answer, as theirs is a record of abject failure under every single measure. But here we are on the cusp of another UK government budget that will impact us heavily here in Wales. Rachel Reeves will be reaching deep into the pockets of Welsh workers, the creators, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners, those that genuinely add value to our nation. She'll be reaching in and asking for ever more so she can keep sending British taxpayer money abroad at every opportunity. It's who Labour are. It's in their fabric. It's in their DNA. They are incapable of making the tough decisions required in government and reducing the size of the state when all they know is how to borrow and tax their way to economic disaster. But we in Reform, we offer a different way. With a remarkable leadership team, Reform offers for the first time in a generation a real opportunity to put Wales and the UK on the path to genuine fiscal fairness and economic prosperity. As I come to a close, there are two things that I'd like to take away with you tonight. Two things I'd like you to tell your friends, tell your family, and energise those around us who don't believe that their vote counts. Firstly, I want you all to cast your minds back to the Runcorn election. The team won by 6 votes. 6 votes. That means that every conversation, every email, every event, every leaflet, every stand that you man, every minute that you can spare, it all counts. Any one of you in this room or watching this live stream could literally be the difference between winning or losing seats in May. Secondly, our opponents, they're fierce. They will call us all the names they can think of. Let them. Let them call us what they want. They'll say we're divisive. They'll say we're far right. They'll say we're this. They'll say we're that. Let them call us what they want. We know the UK is already divided. It's divided between those who built it and those who lecture us about spending tens of billions of pounds trying to change the weather. It's divided. It's divided between those who create and those who take. It's divided between the Welsh people and a political class that forgot who it is they work for. Now, we don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, and I can assure you Nigel Farage will never forget. So we're not just voting for change in May. We're voting to take our country back from the blob, with Nigel leading the charge, pint in one hand, common sense and courage in the other. Let's do this together. Let's restore our proud nation and create a legacy we can all be proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Diolch, nos da.
Brilliant, well done. Thank you very much indeed, Jason. Now, is Yvonne Cheadle here somewhere in the audience? Yvonne, good news, I found your phone. So it's available at the stage door later on when you leave. You see, a jack of all trades, master of none. Now, our next speaker is one of Llandudno's most active county councillors. She was previously deputy leader of Conway Council, which she described as a thankless task. She is now focused on supporting her town and wider region as she knows how important tourism is to this area. Now, recently, she set up a hospitality excellence fund, giving extra financial support to students on hospitality courses at the local college, funded by businesses and private donors. A great scheme indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Councillor Louise Emery.
Noswaith Arpal, Croeso in Trefni. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our town. My name is Louise Emery, and I am proud to be a Reform County Councillor here in Llandudno. Next May, we are going to be fighting the most important election since the start of devolution in 1999. As Jason has said, for 26 years, Wales has lived under a virtual one-party socialist dictatorship. But politics in Wales is changing. We in Reform thought that our principal opponents in May's election would be Labour, but they have made such a hash of their short time in Westminster, delivering years of failure here in Wales, that Plaid Cymru will be our main challengers. So let's just take a look at them. If there is anything worse, ladies and gentlemen, than Labour running the country that I live in and love, it is Plaid Cymru running the country that I live in and love. Because Plaid are the ultimate political con artists. They run with the hares and hunt with the hounds. They call themselves internationalists, but want to separate Wales from the rest of the United Kingdom. They pursue an extreme form of environmentalism, while assuring Welsh farmers that their policies won't jeopardise food production. They say they want to defend women's rights, but believe in gender self-identification, which erodes those very rights. If there was a political prize for facing both ways at the same time, Plaid would win it by a landslide. And Plaid say they want to protect and nurture our Welsh culture and Welsh language. Quite right. So do I. So do we all. But you cannot safeguard Welsh culture while promoting a so-called nation of sanctuary policy with no thought about its impact on the most fragile Welsh-speaking communities. But as Jason said, when anyone points out that contradiction, Plaid shout division and hate. Now let me say this clearly now. It is not divisive to speak the truth. It is not hate to question a policy that simply does not add up and is positively damaging to the Welsh people. Since devolution started in 1999, Plaid have propped Labour up in Cardiff Bay in a coalition of reckless incompetence that's done massive harm to the rural economy. The consequence is that talented young men and women are leaving Wales, taking their Welsh language with them. There is a well-known Welsh saying, heb waith dim iaith, without work, no language. To keep the language vibrant, you have to feed it. And you do that by creating conditions that boost the rural Welsh economy and provide good quality jobs for young Welsh people. And that is exactly what a reformed Welsh Government will do. Now, I want to spend a little time talking about tourism, particularly as we are in the Queen of Welsh resorts. Because sometimes it feels like Welsh Government ministers sit around a table in Cardiff and ask themselves, how can we really screw up the tourist industry this week? So they bring in an arbitrary rule on bed nights that decimates the self-catering centre. They put Welsh businesses out of business, literally overnight, because they can't pay the additional tax. And having imposed that tax, they come up with another one, because that's what socialists do. So they say, I know, let's have a tourism tax. A truly crazy idea. At a time when the industry is trying to encourage more holidaymakers to come to Wales and to get day trippers to stay the night, the last thing it needs is another business levy. Because quite simply, if people have to pay more to stay in Wales, they're much more likely to go and stay in some other part of the UK. It doesn't take an economic genius to see that. But it's clearly something that's escaped Welsh Labour in Cardiff. So let us be clear, the tourism levy is a stupid, bad idea. But don't despair. Don't despair. Because this terrible tax will be repealed before it's begun by the next Reform Welsh Government. And let us not forget, you'll probably hear a lot about this policy tonight, the 20-mile-an-hour policy. Oh, yes. What this has done to the perception of Wales, all that lovely scenery, we can now view it at 20 miles an hour. When law-abiding visitors come across the Welsh border and drive at exactly the same speed as they do across the rest of the UK, what do? We fine them. And we put 3 penalty points on their licence for good measure. That's no way to say croeso I Gymru. And what's the entirely predictable consequence? Visitor numbers across Wales are down by 20%. We need to reverse that decline, welcome people back with open arms, and scrap the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is what exactly a Reform government in Wales will do. So, when we launch the manifesto next year, it is going to be a game changer for May's elections. It'll be a brave, common sense alternative to the nonsense we have endured over 26 years with realistic, ambitious policies. Because it is time for change in Wales. Our manifesto will be laser focused on growing the Welsh economy, on making Wales the best place in Britain to start and grow a business, and on bringing prosperity back to communities that Labour and Plaid have left behind. So take heart, be enthusiastic. We in Reform are going to deliver a political revolution next May. Boedd y draigwch yn rio unwaith eto. The Welsh dragon will roar again. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my absolute pleasure to introduce someone who has become a real force for Reform UK here in Wales. He is a man who stood in one of the toughest Labour strongholds in the country and came within touching distance of taking it, shocking the establishment and proving that the people of Caerphilly are ready for change. He is a proud Welshman, a tireless campaigner, and someone who has shown exactly what Reform UK can achieve when we stand together and fight for our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the former candidate for the Caerphilly by-election, Kier Starmer.
Not like that. Good evening. The last stage I stepped on, the crowd wasn't as so pleasant as this, so thank you very much for that welcome. Let me start as well by thanking so many of you who came out to help me in Caerphilly. The support, the work, the effort you all put in, we showed what this movement really stands for. Standing for this party and fighting for what I believe in was the biggest honour of my life. And without your support, it's not possible. In this next election, I want you all standing with all of our candidates and really taking the fight to the Cardiff Bay establishment. Tonight, my message is simple. Wales isn't working. And the people of Wales know it. From our schools, from our NHS, from the economy and our communities, the Cardiff Bay establishment has broken Wales. They can no longer be trusted, and they can no longer hide from it. Let's start with education standards. It affects every parent, every young person across Wales. Wales has one of the worst education results in the UK. Not a bit behind, right at the bottom. And the stat that really hits home is that 1 in 5 children now leave education without the ability to read and write. Just think about that. Kids aren't the problem. Teachers aren't the problems. The failed system is the problem. Reform is saying this: let's sort out our education system. Back to basics. Support teachers. Respect parents, not challenge them as the enemy. Give kids a fighting chance from day one. It's common sense, something that has been missing from Welsh politics for decades. The health system. Everyone in this room has a nightmare, a story, or knows someone else who does. 1 in 4 patients on waiting lists for months or years. Ambulance sitting outside hospitals for 2 hours on average. You can barely get a GP appointment. Good NHS staff working themselves into the ground. And the worst part? Labour acts like there's no problem at all. We need an NHS that works for patients and staff. Reform wants to put money back into the front line, not layers of management or pointless departments like DEI. No more excuses, no more hiding from the problems. Wales isn't working under Labour. Our economy. People are struggling. Families are stretched to the limit. Businesses are barely hanging on. Wales has so much potential, but it's been wasted by a failed government. We've got the talent, we've got the skills, we've got the resources. What we don't have is a government who knows how to use those skills, how to use that talent. That's why we need reform. The answer to every problem isn't more tax, more rules, more red tape. Reform believes in doing the opposite. Let businesses breathe. Let families keep more of their own money. Let's attract investment. Let's create the jobs that last. Fixing Wales's problem is Reform's mission. Fixing education means more skilled workers. Means the economy would grow. Growing our economy means more investment for our healthcare. Fixing our NHS means fewer people would fail to turn up to work and patients wouldn't suffer. But right now, under Labour, every part of that picture is cracked. People in Wales are fed up. They're right to be. During the by-election, I heard the same thing, again and again. We've had enough. Enough of Labour. Enough of decline. Enough of excuses. Enough of being ignored by people who haven't got a clue what it's really like out here in the real world. Reform is offering something different. Not fancy words, not empty promises, just straight talking, old-fashioned common sense. Let's fix the basics, fix the system, put money where it actually matters, hold people accountable and give Wales its confidence back. Because that's what's really missing. Confidence, hope. And they really, really do need that right now. Hope. Think of your neighbours, think of your family, think of your friends. What are they missing right now? Is Wales really done and out? Can we really do better than this? I say yes. Reform says yes. And next May, the people of Wales will say yes. Wales has everything it needs, except a decent government in Cardiff Bay. As we head into 2026, believe that we can be better. Believe that Wales can be better. Believe that you and your families deserve better. That's what we're asking people to vote for in May. A better tomorrow. A better future for all of Wales. And that's why we'll be standing in every seat, contesting every election going forward. And at the end... At the end of the election in Caerphilly, you all might have seen that there was a certain note that was left on my campaign office telling Reform to, in certain words, go home. I'm sorry, I've got to disappoint those people because Reform is going nowhere. So we head into 2026 believing that Wales can be better. It can be better and it will be better. Together we can get Wales working again and unleash Wales' true potential. Mae Cymru yn angen llywodraeth wahanol. Mae Cymru yn angen llywodraeth sydd yn mynd I sefyll lan I pob ochr Gymru. We need a government that will stand up for the Welsh people and every person in every corner of Wales. Whether it's up here in the north, whether it's back down in south, whether it's over in the east, every community must be represented again. This movement must be heard in every village, in every valley, in every town, in every city, coast to coast. Wales is broken and Wales needs reform. Diolch o'ch galon. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Diolch.
Well done. Well, our next speaker has served her country in more ways than one. She joined the Intelligence Corps when she was just 16. She worked on the front line of our health and social care system as a nurse and a social worker. She then made history in 2019 when she became the first ever Conservative Member of Parliament for Wrexham. Now, like many of her former parliamentary colleagues, she saw the light and defected to Reform UK earlier this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sarah Atherton.
Noswaith da, Reform Cymru. And thank you for being here tonight. You could be anywhere, but you've chosen to be here to make a stand for Wales. And that says everything. So let's get straight to it. For 26 years, Labour, with their bedfellows Plaid, have failed Wales. We know that. They've failed our communities. They've failed our kids. They've failed our future. And I don't need to tell you what they've done to our NHS, because every single one of you and me are living in it. The worst NHS waits in the UK. A system creaking whilst the ministers in Cardiff pat themselves on the back. I don't need to tell you about education. Our attainment levels are sinking year after year, whilst our brightest young people pack their bags and go over the border because they have no opportunities here in their home, here in Wales. So what do Plaid and Labour offer instead? Well, we know they waste our money, slowing us down to 20 miles an hour with their constant battle on the motorists. Taxing tourists in a place desperate for investment. Opening our borders to the world with their nation of sanctuary, whilst actually closing it down for the English. And ignoring the pressures on our housing services, our communities here in Wales. And they tell us that's progressive. But we know they're reckless. People here aren't daft. You're not daft. we can see that Cardiff Bay is completely out of touch, out of ideas and out of time. Next May is our chance, our real chance to turn the page, to bring in a government, and we'll do it, to bring in a government that listens, that delivers, and puts Wales and the people of Wales first. A government that believes in aspiration, not decline, in opportunity, not managed failure, in borders that work, services that function, and a future for our young people so they want to stay and build for a better Wales. And reform is rising because people are tired of excuses. We, all in here, are tired of excuses. People want honesty, they want courage, and they, and we here today, want change. So together, every single one of you in this room, we can give Wales that shake-up that it's been crying for. So let's get out there. Let's knock the doors. Let's tell the truth. And let's win. For our communities, for our future, and for the future of Wales. Diolch yn fawr pawb. Thank you very much.
Your Welsh is better than mine. Well, our next speaker is currently our only Reform member of the Senedd, but we know that many more will be joining her in May. A leading voice in agriculture, education and women's rights, Laura has established herself as a true reformist and active member of the party. She actually works incredibly hard to support our members across Wales, as well as in her own patch in South East Wales. Laura says she finally feels at home in reform with like-minded people who are laser-focused on making Wales thrive and Britain great again. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Laura Ann Jones.
Noswaith da, good evening everyone. Diolch for such an incredible welcome. The energy in this room tells me everything that I need to know about Wales's future. It is wonderful to be here in Llandudno tonight, to be on stage with such a talented group of individuals. Wales is really in safe hands in the future. Nigel, it is a privilege that you're here with us tonight. You have inspired millions to play along by refusing to play along with a broken political system, and you have once again, unlike any other UK leader, shown your commitment to Wales by being here tonight. Our movement is stronger because of your leadership and your conviction that you bring. You lead with strength, with experience, with common sense, and with kindness, and we are lucky to have you at the helm. Friends, tonight is not a normal gathering. We are here because Wales is at a turning point. Across our country, people are rising and saying enough is enough. They are tired of being spoken down to. They are tired of paying more and receiving less. They are tired of governments in Cardiff Bay and Westminster promise change and more change and delivering decline year after year. This moment is our moment to change that. This election is our moment to take Wales in a new direction. This election will be an historic one. It is clear that there will be no longer more of the same from this tired Welsh government that has run out of ideas. It is clear that after 30 years of canvassing here in Wales, I never thought that I'd see Labour voters leaving the party in droves in the way that they are. Finally, the people of Wales have woken up and realised they are not fighting for their interests. This election, every vote will count in every part of Wales. The new PR system ensures that. It will stop tactical voting like we saw in Caerphilly. Everywhere I go, from here in the north to our coast in the west, to our borders in the east, to our valleys in the